Okay, this is going. Adding another excerpt, Science of Minds training. This one was covering flowcharts or identity. The brain makes excuses for things that happen, and you do have a healthy backdrop with echo of your own brain to give you some sort of feedback. Well, you said the right thing, and to review what's going on. Anyone who tells you hearing voices is a bad thing doesn't know their craft and are doing you misjustice or injustice by saying such a thing. You can take control of this by making a flowchart, an identity seeker, by making allotments for he said, she said, it said, we said, they said, everyone said, me, myself, and I said, you, yourself, and yours said. Someone said doesn't really come up. It's more of a search term. Anyone says that's just basically a possibility. No one said that's more like nothing was said at all. So I went through these, my own brain, and it works pretty good. You end up making a copy of all these possible conversations that could ever happen. And it gets set up really quick. It makes you put down the other she says, other he says, other it says, other we says, other they says, other everyone says, other me, myself, and I says, and other you, yourself, and yours says. It takes a little bit of slug work. Once you're able to make these recorded versions of replayable phrases in your brain, you can put together a little environment, an AI, ones of conversations. And you can rig these things up in the conditions of following real-time events in real life. And use this for remote viewing and extra detective-like mindsets to be able to figure these out. You can even put other she says isn't able to blame anyone other than her. And then you work on she says she's blonde, she says she's red haired, you says she's black hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, whatever. Right down to the language she speaks, where she lives, is in a house, is in a car, is in a truck, she's on the ocean, whatever. All these different things are different she says, but it's a drop down menu of does she have blonde hair? Yes, so you wind up making demographics. Then you line them up and eventually you put phrases in there and say, my name does not begin with A. My name does not begin with B. The reason why you do it that way is to fight your internal bias. You're literally just making them kind of call you a liar a little bit just to correct the scene and their actual identity. You're in control of the whole script. After a while, you put together these identities for everybody. So you'll know the perspective of when you're detecting someone utterly talking across the street. You can picture little guessworks of what they might have said, and then the one that is they retain, they stick around, they're the real conversation. You can start hearing some pretty interesting stuff out there. And then you put down things like, is she still alive? Does she work for the NSA? Over time, you'll have a she that doesn't work for the NSA, a she that does work for the NSA, or CIA, or FBI, or KGB, or just whoever. According to the function, all the rest of them can't report the same report. So you'll be able to tell who's trying to mess with your head and telling you what to think and what was just your playtime soap opera you put together in your own brain. Over time, you put these events together, and you could use these guys. And what one guy wrote a book called the CIA Pattern, where they took all the famous archetypes of humanity from the past, Lincoln, Queen Elizabeth, and all these famous people, and created them in the brain so you could use them as an advisory column, so they would tell you whether a choice was good enough or not. This stuff really eccentrically puts them in a file structure and allows them to make stories for you later on. Lots of extra stories that compete what you think is going on, just to have a double checking environment of what really is happening. A second opinion that all of them believe can be not the truth, and it retains. So you end up making laws in your brain based on the data that's a fact that you can't shake. That's when you start picturing knowing everybody on the planet. You start talking to actual aliens if they ever existed. You start talking to actual ghosts if they ever existed. You're able to manufacture an AI ghost if you want one to exist as a personal assistant. You could do so many things with this and put a library in your own brain and eventually just be a genius. Over time, if you follow this, if enough people follow this, you're going to have a hive mind and the whole world will just know each other's thoughts. And no one will have a problem trusting anyone. Money, the need for money will disappear. The need to prove anything will disappear. And mankind will just know what to do. And small enclaves of people would just mobilize and to fix our whole world and do exactly what's needed to be done, because we'll know from every angle what's ever is going on. Science of minds, guys.